you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we live, we in the building.
I got off the screen.
Welcome back to another episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ice Cold Nate Bennett.
What's happening, world's case? I got it full effect. Hey, I got the Educate, Invest, Grow, the E.I.G shirt. You feel me?
There you go. E.I.G merch on the way. Extraordinary Investment Group doing big things out here in these streets in 2023. But yeah, man, we got a special, another illustrious, prestigious guest. Family, day one, supported us from, the beginnings of Extraordinary Investment Group when nobody knew who we was and everybody was asking, well, what exactly do y'all do? And, what kind of event are y'all throwing for this Juneteenth thing? Well, what have y'all done before? We're like, hey, we just have faith in us. We 12 brothers trying to do our thing and impact the community. And this next guest was one of those people who had trust in us. He's a loyal servant, a man of God. He's a husband. He's a father, a veteran. Appreciate your service, brother. An author, public speaker, and just a pillar in his community all around. From West Philly. And he inspires others to strive to be better than who they were yesterday, man. I've seen his brother on his socials say that all the time, and he lives what he preaches. So give it up for the West Philly author himself, Mr. Gerald L. Jackson. What's good, Gerald?
Man. Thank you. It's always an honor. So listen, first and foremost, I just want to give you a shout out. Always give flowers while you can. And I just want to thank you for this platform, both of you. Because again, you just never know who knows you, and you never know who needs to hear what you have to say. I think we truly all have a story to tell, and so when you share, you got to be willing to share that story so somebody can be inspired. So thank you for the platform.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Coming on the platform to talk. So you came to our first Juneteenth event. Which was in Maryland. You're not a local from Maryland. You put faith in, you put faith in the opportunity.
Yeah.
And you came from Philly to Maryland to the event. I always ask. I always start off before we get into our interviews to ask people who, participated in our Juneteenth event how your experience was in that event.
No, I love it. Actually, it was first, it was a mind-blowing experience, meaning that you just in a place full of excellence. You're surrounding yourself around people who you can have all different types of businesses that's going on, but all in one place. It kind of it motivates you, it inspires you. It's like-minded. You surround yourself around like-minded individuals, and you don't even got to know what everybody's doing, but it's kind of like you're just in the right room. And I think even though we was outside, I felt like I was in the right room. It's like the energy, the vibe, the atmosphere, just being a part of something bigger than you, right? It's not an individual thing, but it's like a respect. It's a mutual respect when you next to somebody pushing something that they believe in. And that's all that matters. I'm not saying I don't got to care what it is, but whatever you're doing, you believe it in that much. That's why you out here. And I think we all have a similar mindset. And I think when you're in that room full of greatness, it could be the start. You could be like, man, I was next to somebody who's now making millions. It's like you don't know who you with. It's like you might not know. You might be next to the next goal. And so I just felt like I was in the room full of excellence, even though we was outside. But I was in that space, that atmosphere. It's like, man, I'm glad to be a part of something bigger than me.
Absolutely, man. Well, again, we appreciate you for coming and putting that faith in us, and we, I kind of segue because we got another one coming up. So, quick plug, Juneteenth, E.I.G.
No, absolutely, man. You got to make it. You got to make it happen. And I think, and anybody can understand. Yeah, man. Listen, anybody understand? Just ask this simple question, and everybody starts somewhere. And so I just think that even though the fact that you believed in yourself and enough where it showed, you couldn't tell that it was the first. It's like it was so put together. It didn't seem like it was something amateur. It seemed like, yo, this is where you want to be at. It's not a place that you want to miss. And you was able to capture like key people who were serious about their business. And so I think that if you're really serious and you want to be recognized, I mean, Juneteenth is where you want to be. You want to be a part of that, because you're going to get the exposure that you didn't even think that you would get. So y'all did that. And so thank you. And people in Maryland I didn't know, who didn't know about me, now I say no's because of what y'all did. So y'all had to be exercised. Y'all had to fulfill your job. So maybe that person can even know who I was. And so y'all contribute to that success. So I'm forever going to be indebted, you know what I mean? I guess embedded to that. And so again, thank you to y'all. Juneteenth. Make sure y'all show up, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We appreciate that. That pressure, knowing that we had, you know, people pay us to be in that space. So we had to make sure, you know, we got people out there, and you know what I'm saying, like, and you know, just to kind of pull the curtain back, we were having very, you know, and be transparent, we were having conversations like, yo, we gonna be able to get enough people out there? Like, we doing our social media marketing. I mean, there's 12 of us in the group, and our family and the extended family, they sharing it. We got people coming in from out of town. So like, you coming down from Philly, folks coming up from Atlanta was like added pressure. Like,
oh yeah,
gotta put on. We can't have people travel and then not see the value in what we put together. And you know what I'm saying? Not to you know, toot our own horns, but we did it even better a second year, and now so much the third year that we got actual venues welcoming us in right there in like downtown Silver Spring. That's like, anyone from our area knows, like, outside of DC, that's like an epicenter right there. You got shops and movie theaters and restaurants all up and down that road. And they were like, hey, we see what y'all did, and can y'all bring that here? So yeah, man.
That's what it is. Like, you had to start for you to be seen. Like, to be seen, you have to make yourself available. And that's one of the things that I always share. Like, we just got to do it. Right. And then once we do it, we can continue to evaluate the first one. But you can't evaluate anything if you're not willing to step out on faith. And so you look at that first one. Okay, what can we do better? How can we tweak it? And that's the key to continue to be better than who you were yesterday.
Well, absolutely. So then let's segue into it. Then you had to step out on faith and put, well, this, I got this at that first event. This is your first book, correct?
Yeah. Well, is that actually, I can share that story. Is actually
sure. So this is a book. I appreciate you put something in there for my daughter. I got that personally signed, so that's something I keep in the repertoire in her library. But yeah, give everybody, you know, your backstory. What inspired you to, you know, go children's books? Why the kids books? And yeah, tell the world about yourself, man.
All right, so I know this is not a long story, but
we got time. Take your time, brother. Take your time.
Just to kind of give you an idea of what made me become an author, right? I didn't wake up and say, hey, you know, I want to be an author when I grow up. You know, that wasn't something. School wasn't the thing. I didn't do bad in school, but it was just, you know, I just did what I needed to do to get by. You know, I did sports. I ran track. I was on a swim team. I played, you know, community football. But it was just like a regular kid. But I think I didn't pick the author picked me. And that's why when we look at as God and how it all started, I grew up in a single parent home. And it's crazy how you don't realize your whole life and your walk, it circles back to like this moment. And so I went growing up in a single parent home. It was my mom, my brother, and me. My father wasn't there, and he wasn't there because he was battling with some addictions. Like, my dad was on drugs, and I talk about it heavy. And what you know anything about addictions, addictions take you away from the people that you love. It take you away from those dreams and those aspirations. And so that's his story as far as like chasing that high, but it still left a little boy. It was a void. Little boy, I was lonely. I felt like I'm not loved, and it was harder because I knew my father, and I couldn't understand, how can you know that I exist and not want to be there, not want to be in my life? And so I was that boy just struggling with those emotions, man. I was frustrated. I was angry. A kid just wanted answers, and I just couldn't understand. And then shout out to and my mom, she was raising two boys, right? And so no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't, no matter if she wanted to, she can't teach you how to be a man because she's just not a man, right? She can probably read stories or try to have like a male role model, like maybe be involved, but you know, that wasn't my story. So I seen the frustration that she was battling with, and even just the depression and just feeling like, man, you're gonna leave me here with 2 boys. And so my grandmom, you know, shout out to those praying grandmothers, right? My grandmom kind of stepped in, and she knew that, you know, it's not easy kind of raising kids on your own. And so my grandma, one thing she did teach me, she taught me about God. And she told me it was 3 things. She was like, you know, wasn't big on, I mean, she, not saying she didn't go to church, but she taught me the relationship is more important than anything. Because if the building falls down, do you just stop going to church? Do you stop praying? Do you stop doing what you need to do? She said you need to have that person relationship, because no matter where you go, if you go to college, if you go move, you want to be able to know God for yourself, knowing that, you know, he will be there. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And so one of the things, 3 things that she told me, that God is love. Right. You know, and the greatest gift you can give someone is love. God is love. God, the Bible, the word of God provides messages, right? Instructions every day to help you get through life. And he is a man of his word, right? He doesn't break his promises. So he's a man of truth. And so I kind of carry that with me. But I was still like struggling in school. And then I think roles reversed when I became a father. The moment that my girl, now my wife, told me that she was pregnant, honestly, I was scared because I didn't know. I was like, man, I don't even know how to be a father. I didn't have that example in front of me. I didn't know what to do. And and then it's kind of like I woke up in the middle of the night, like in cold sweats, like, man, like this should be the happiest moment of my life, but I was almost like scared, like not scared. Like I know I was a good dude, but I was just like, man, I ain't ready, or I don't think I will even be what my child needs in that moment. And I guess it was like that voice, or that I must have had, like, it was an exercise. Somebody must have said, hey, write to your younger self. And I thought I was over the pain and what I was going through as, you know, a young child. I thought I was over it. Hey, you know what? I end up, you know, finishing school. I end up just going into the military. So, you know what? I can accomplish some things. I start seeing some accomplishments, some hurdles, which builds confidence. But in this moment that I didn't feel like I knew had control over is when would I be able to be a father. And so then that vision kind of was like, hey, write to yourself. And so it was weighing so heavy on me, woke me in the middle of my sleep, and I just started writing down. And I wrote this message to my younger self, like, yo, it's going to be okay. Like, even though you went through that, your situation, don't let it define you, but instead let it refine you. And I start writing down the messages, right? I start writing it down. And I was like, man, you know what? This is real good. And I didn't even know I had it in me. And it was crazy. It was like that passion. It was almost as if it was a form of release. As I was writing down all the pain that I had, I was going through, I thought I kind of just got over it, but I actually was hiding it. It was so far down as I was writing, and I kept writing. All the things that I was feeling was going on paper. So I put my pain onto paper. And I said, man, I know I'm not the only child that grew up in a single parent home. I know I'm not the only child who maybe a parent is battling with addiction. I know that I'm not the only child who felt that they was alone. And so I said, how can I get this message to everybody? I said, I'm only one person. I can't go there. You know, I can't physically get to everybody at once. I can't go to Maryland tomorrow or go over to Atlanta tomorrow and just still be here. I'm only one person. I can't be in more than place at once. So I had to create something that everybody from all over can get to. And that made me realize is a book that I don't have to be everywhere, but everybody has access to it. And that's what made me realize that this message was so good that I wanted everybody to be able to be inspired and recognizing that they are encouraged. And so my first book, its title is not available anymore, but this was the very first book titled A Father's Message, because I wanted every child to know that they are not alone, and there's a message to help guide them throughout their life. And throughout the story, you see, and through all the books that I have written so far, you see a child, from an infant, grow throughout the pages. And that's symbolic because whether we like it or not, every day we wake up, we get older. And so it symbolizes growth. And so that's important. That's the strategic reasoning behind that. But in A Father's Message, that was just me just really writing. And as I start reading books, because, right, if this is going to be my craft, if this is my lane, you want to perfect it. You want to get better. And I knew that there was some things that I have learned. I had to learn that, hey, you can't just write to yourself. You got to write to the audience that you're speaking to. And so it's some messages in here. I know I can be too deep it had like this hold on, one of the messages in the first one, it was as time goes by, you will get older, and with every sun that rises, life will bring more memories as well as some surprises. Now, to a child, it may be too deep, too broad. They might, I understand it, but to a child, they may not. And I had another one. The world will try to show you how to walk with his own sight. It is up to you to stand behind what you feel is right. And he might say in the world, they might think of the word, like it's deep. I understand. I'm telling you, hey, just being all I really want them to know is like you gotta stand on your own. You gotta make your own decisions, but they may be confused. And so the first book, it was a few stains. It's like a stain on a shirt. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like I'm walking around, I know that nobody else might not even see it. Small thing. Nobody don't even know that damn it was an issue, but I know it. And if you know better, you do better. And so one of the things that I wanted to do as I start reading, I know that I know I'm here to inspire. I'm here to put on this work to inspire and encourage. I said, all right, I'm going to circle back to that, but I'm going to create a book that be able to really gear to the kids. And so that's when I came out with The Father's Love. So I was pushing that crazy. And throughout the book, it can be able to be words where it's understood, sight words where kids can identify in his elementary level where they can read it on their own, but also a parent can read it to them and be able to explain it as far as trying to figure out what the author wants, but they can be able to explain it because it's not too complex. And so you have to be mindful as an author, who's your audience? Who are you writing to, right? And am I writing to the parent or am I writing to the child? And so A Father's Love just does just that. One of the messages that I always talk about, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Whatever you start, make sure you complete. Your mind is your best weapon, and a good education just can't be beat. It's letting them know that, people know about weapons and fighting, but your mind, once you learn something, can't nobody take that from you. And so that means that you can be able to live independently when you start educating yourself instead of just relying on somebody else to tell you your next step or your next move. Use your mind. So then now, once you know it, you can be able to duplicate it. If I'm just following under somebody else, I can't go and take my business somewhere because I'm only relying on what they tell me. But when I learn how to create the business myself, you can be all right. Somebody can try to steal or duplicate what I have, but they not the mind. Don't have the mastermind behind what you need to get it started. So y'all can take this and uproot it and move it somewhere else because y'all got the knowledge as far as how a business runs, how Juneteenth runs, because you have did it. And so that's the beauty part about it. Why I became an author, I know the power of words, and you spoke on that before we kind of opened it up live. And I knew that my gift is to inspire and to encourage. And I knew words are powerful. Life and death is in the tongue. And so if I'm going to give them a message, I want to give them something that's meaningful, give them something that they can look at and it's timeless. And so at my writing, I make it timeless that even after me, it still can be able to inspire them. It doesn't have to be a particular point or a season where it can only apply. I want to make sure that things are timeless. And words are powerful. Words can uplift you or it can destroy you. And so I choose to use the words to inspire them, right? Just like I tell them, if a kid tells you that, says you're hurtful words, like you feel sad, it affects you, even though it may not hurt you, but it affects you emotionally. But if I also tell you that you're a king, you're going to be somebody inspired, it also can make you smile. It can make you want to strive to do that. So that's one of the things. I know I kind of is going to elaborate a little bit more, but I don't want to speak. And y'all got questions, yeah?
Go ahead, Cal. I was gonna say, I hope people got all the gems just in that story right there, dog. Like resilience, you know what I'm saying? Like jumping out the window, even when you're not ready, like you said, work, like seeing the errors you saw in that first book, which I actually want to get a copy of. If you still got those laying around.
Yeah, I got a few.
Yeah, I want to get a copy of that. Just like the maturation process, just like with the podcast. Like we don't want this to be too perfect starting out. We'll be able to look back 2 years from now, we're like, yeah, look where we started. Yeah. Now we in a beautiful studio, but you can see that maturation process. So yeah, like, you was I'm sitting here taking notes. I'm taking notes, dog, and you're dropping gems.
Wow. And so and that's when that came out, this one, right? So I knew that I was going to circle back after I did A Father's Love, and I see how much success that it brought me. And they just see when you just take the time and you want to perfect your talent, you want to perfect your craft. And the beauty part about you as an author, you write your own story, right? Nobody can tell you whether it's right or wrong. You're writing your own story. But if I'm gonna put anything, I want to put my best foot forward. And so if I recognize that it was something that I wanted to correct, something that I knew that one thing in the author world, when they pick up your book, they might say, man, I wonder what other books that this person wrote, because I really like it. It really inspired me. I want to get this one. I want to see what else he wrote. And that's what made me realize, like, I don't want them to come back and see that stain every time, right? I want at least, if they're going to get anything, it's going to kind of have something that at least, and people going to always pick out something that even wrong with this one or that one. But at least in my mind, I did the best that I could with each one. It's kind of like your baby, your child. Like, you love each one. It's like you don't have a favorite. But my thing is, if you learn from your mistakes with that first child, you're like, you know what? All right, I'm going to make sure that, hey, I'm going to tell that child, I'm going to circle back and tell, hey, this is why I made a mistake. But that child after you, also, you're already going to teach them or give them the gems so they don't have to make the mistakes that you did with the first one. So you want to constantly perfect.
Facts.
Absolutely. Like, and you hit on a few things, found a few notes. First and foremost, in regards to literacy, right? Like, you're writing children's, but what age range does your books tend to focus on?
So I would say from kindergarten or even pre-K, even in the womb, to about second grade, second or third, really second grade to 8. So like from 2 to 8 is when you start maybe just reading books. But even I get a lot of sales even with like baby showers and even schools. So I say 2 to 8. I think for the elementary school for the kids.
So,
but I think it's adult too. It's adult. I think at the end of the day, when a person gets the book, it's the magic that goes beyond the pages. It's the message that leaves beyond that, and it's like, man, this book really is something that you can apply to your life. Like, a lot of times, even with the mind thing, in A Father's Message, it says too, like, don't be afraid to try something new. You might find a thing you love to do in a new one that I have. And it's a lot of times the reason why you don't know you're not good at something. You don't know if you don't like something if you don't try it. So it is okay to, try it, try your basketball. If you don't like it, now you can say you don't like it, not because nobody else doesn't, because you gave it a try. And so if as parents, you want to give all the information, you want to pour into them and at least say, hey, now you have all the answers. What you do with it is up to you, but you can't say, you wasn't told. You can't say you don't know.
Absolutely. So, and like I said, I asked that for a reason, just looking at this quote on my screen. Well, not necessarily a quote, just a note here. A student who can't read at grade level by third grade is 4 times less likely to graduate at the age 19 than one who does read proficiently at that level. So,
and that's so true.
Right. So you focusing on that age range, and it is powerful. And then there's another quote that follow it that says, if a book doesn't feel like, if a kid doesn't, a black kid especially, if a black kid doesn't feel like the books reflect them, they're going to pull away from it. It doesn't have anything to do with me. So I'm just not going to read them anymore. Right. And so, for you to say that your books, you're focusing on the message, the illustration is the children, something that they can pick up the book and it looks like them. That's helping push the culture forward. So I appreciate you for that.
Hey, listen, man, and that's intentional too, right? Like, listen, representation matters.
Right.
In each book, and as you can see, I know Nate has A Father's Love, but even in and both, even the other one, but you can see here, it's important for you not only looking in the mirror, you have a young king, right? And then in A Father's Love, you have a young queen. And so when you look in your mirror, like, how do you see yourself? Because that's also important too. One of the things when I go to school readings, I say, I have everybody stand. I say, hey, I want to count of 3. I want you to say, I am somebody. And I said, I don't want you to just say it just because I'm asking you. I want you to say it enough. Do it every day when you look in the mirror and say, I am somebody. But I want you to say it enough so you can believe it. Because when you start believing something, then you start walking in greatness. If you just say it and you don't believe it, then you're going to believe what you're going to walk in whatever you do believe, right? If somebody says, hey, man, you're stupid, and you say that every day, then I'm not going to raise my hand when a teacher asks me a question. I'm not going to raise my hand or volunteer for certain things because I believe how the people perceive me is as I'm stupid. And so I'm going to start walking in how others view me. But I want them to start saying it enough where you believe it. Then you start walking into your greatness. You start walking. Hey, somebody say you're stupid. You be like, no, I'm not, because I know I'm somebody. I know I'm not stupid, right? I don't have to have all the answers to know I'm not stupid. And that's why I tell them, you have to say it enough to believe it, because that's going to change your disposition. Or somebody can't just come and tell you any old thing. And if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. You're going to fall for whatever somebody tells you. So I have to say it's important for them to know who you are, so nobody can't come tell you who you are, right? And so you have to see yourself as somebody who's going to make it, somebody who has a gift, somebody who's going to change the world, because then that's when you're going to start now putting things in place to do just what you believe that you can do.
Yes, sir. Power in them words, man. It's power in them words, bro. Like,
amen.
Good stuff.
But I believe it though, and I think that's why it comes off that way. I think, you know, I don't want to talk about something I don't believe.
Yeah.
That's why I write a certain way. I write on or messages that I truly stand by. You know, walk with integrity, doing what's right even when no one is around. One of my kids, I tell my kids that all the time. It's easy to do the right thing when the teacher's in the room or the parents there. I don't care. I know you're gonna be right when I'm there. Like, you know, let me see you act up. Right. But what I care most is how you act when I'm not around. And I think I always look forward to those teachers' conference. How are they acting? What are the response? And I love to hear that, your kids are so well mannered, or your kids is a leader. They're a leader group, and it starts in the home. And so you have to, as an investment, you have to show them what you want. Now, granted, if they choose to go, you can't beat yourself up, but they can't say again, they didn't know. That's a choice that they have to live with, but they know better. So you do better, you know?
Nope. Facts. Yeah, it was interesting growing up, like having that reinforced. And it's funny, like, not to backtrack, but you were talking about how you grew up in a single home. All the guests we've interviewed so far on the Extraordinary Exchange podcast came from single mother homes. So it's a pattern in our community. Our mother, like, we got to give our mothers and those single Black women, like, kudos for raising us and having that infrastructure, even though they might have been working 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, and you know, not really having all the answers. We know as parents, we don't have all the answers. They didn't have all the answers, but they gave us a foundation enough, whether it was putting us in church or giving us a curfew or having certain things in place that other kids didn't have. Like, I know for me personally, I would look at some other kids like, oh man, I wish I could do that. And now as a parent, I'm, you know, instilling those same values in my daughters.
Yeah.
Me and them other kids, like, oh man, I'm glad my mother, you know what I'm saying, just let us,
you don't see it,
let us run them up and out here looking crazy in these streets. Cause it's like, man, you bringing shame, you know, I am my brother's keeper. You're not just bringing shame to yourself, but to your family. So
yeah, man. You represent, when you will go out that door, you represent something bigger than you.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. That's definitely deep. So,
all right, so let's start giving some game. Now, even though we've been giving game, let's give some specifics. So I'm an aspiring author, right? I want to get into the children's book game, and that's one of the reasons why we call this the Extraordinary Exchange podcast, because we want to exchange good vibes and extraordinary value to people who may have their blinders on and not really have all the research to do it. So, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but just if you could be transparent with your information, what's the process like of getting a children's book published, like from the inception, not just the creating it, but then, you know, getting it published and out to people? What's that process like?
All right. First and foremost, it's an exciting process, right? I think first it has to be something that you want to do. I mean, some people just do it because, hey, this is a way that I can make money. But I think the things that stick, the things that stand and last, is when you do the things that's in your heart, right? When you have a passion for it, your why have to be bigger. For me, the message was bigger than how I felt, and so also you have to stay in your lane. You have to talk about something that inspires you, something that interests you. I mean, if we've been talking so far, you know that I'm always about encouraging and inspiring. So my books is just no different. It's just who I am, right? My books is all about inspiration and encouraging words to motivate you, to push you. It's not really and I'm not, I do have a few stories that's coming down the line, but you have to know who you are. So first, I think is important if you want to be successful, know who you are. And
talk about real quick, not to cut you off. Let's not gloss over that, people. That's beautiful. Before you even put pen to paper, bro, you got to be in that mindset and know who you are first. And don't do it for the wrong reason. Do it because that's a passion and a purpose of yours. Don't gloss over that, man. Like a lot of people want to get to the meat and potatoes and the process, but yeah, if you're doing stuff for the wrong reasons, then it ain't gonna amount to nothing. So salute. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna elaborate on that too, right? Because the reason I'm gonna give an example, because a lot of times people can just say all these things, but all right, well, what do you mean, right? You do something for the wrong reasons, or if you're not doing it for you, somebody, you may share that story and somebody say, no, you should do this. Then you change your whole thing. You actually rip it up. You throw it in trash. Like, oh, well, maybe if he don't like it, you know, nobody gonna like it. And so you have to believe in yourself so much that the message is bigger, and then everybody not gonna be able to understand it, right? It's like a train. The train is constantly moving forward. Everybody don't get on at the same spot, right? And so even when you're having your vision, they may get on at the next stop. They may get on later, right? They may get on the next day. And so you got to understand this is your lane and you have to stay in your lane. What happens if you just jump out of your lane? You don't put the turning signals on, but you just jump in the next lane without notifying. A crash happens. So when you try to be somebody that you're not, you're already setting yourself up for disaster. And so I want to really set you up for success. First, know who you are, and then talk about something that you enjoy, you have a passion for, right? Because then you're going to be excited when you write. They're going to feel that energy, that vibe when they're reading, because you're talking about something that you know, something that you're interested in, something that that's who you are, right? You know, and so I think that's important. So to just tell you about a process, I think the beauty part about a self-published author, right? The restrictions is off, but the work is on you, right? And so a lot of times, sometimes when you try to go into more traditional, that's my son. Hold on, y'all.
Yeah.
You gotta go downstairs. All right, sorry about that. I gave him the heads up, y'all. This is real. This is real.
This is real. Yeah, real, yeah. Real exchange
here. I said, listen, I'm doing an interview, and it still comes. I gave them a reason to come in. But as a self-published author, I guess you don't have to worry about somebody kind of changing the authenticity of what you have. Now, people may give advice, right? I ain't do it all by myself. So my thing is, you do have people that you need to trust, people that you might want to talk to, who can be honest to give you that feedback to edit, right? I ain't the best. English wasn't my major. So I don't say I can spell, but I might not have the right tense or the past tense. I might not have everything right. So you want to make sure that you be a good steward over the things that you have. I wrote my manuscript. I wrote down what I wanted to say. Let me make sure that it is in the right context, right? It's not out of line. It's in the right order. And so for me, as you're reading and you want to be good, if this is what you want to do, read books on how to write books, how to write geared to being a children book author, right? One of the things I look at, let me order the 10 New York Times children book. Do my book stand next to them? Does it stand the test of times, right? If I put my book next to them and you didn't know who the author was, is somebody going to say, you know what, I like this book amongst all those. And so you have access readily available, right? Google's our best friend. The top sellers, top children book sellers, get it and read it. Are you even looking at your competition that is out there? Not seeing that you compare, but you want to make sure maybe a book that's similar is my book. What's the format, right? It's all accessible, right? Looking at the format. Is it worded properly? Is it lined up correctly? You want to make sure Um, um, Another thing, so being a self-published author, I did say one of the things that I did use was KDP, was Kindle Direct Publishing. It's free, right? Everybody loves FREE, and so you can load up, you can write, you can publish any book that you want. However, you just want to get the royalties. You don't have to worry about the inventory. So I do like that. KDP. And so any message that you have, even in your lane that you're doing, you can do an ebook. You can talk about investments, right? You can expand. So when they go to your website, they not only just going to those events, they have it's different things, different products, shirts, everything can be all and on one platform. So that's another thing, just a plug for y'all if y'all, want to write that. But just I think going through KDP is KDP, Direct Kindle Direct Publishing. It allows you to be able to upload your book and you can sell it to a major platform, which is Amazon. So, people go on Amazon, as they're already familiar with Amazon, they can already order your book. Now, I think as far as being monetize your stuff, right? I think having a website is important, right? Because my thing is they want to know more about you, and having a website, they can order on Amazon, but would they be able to get an autographed signature? That's no, right? So you want to have that website, so if they order those books directly through you, you can write a message, you can make it personal, and they also can learn about who you are and what you stand for. And so you want to market yourself. You know yourself. You can't talk about yourself better than anyone else, right? You know your life, your story is your story, and can't nobody take that from you. So the only way they know your story if you're willing to share it. So I think it's really just simple. Is access now in today's time. You can be able to just once you write your stories. I would say you want to have a team, right? Because nobody can do this all by themselves. I do have a team. Pretty much it's family. I would look at them. I trust them. I know they're not out to kind of take it and steal it. You can't just give it to anybody. But the illustrator is also a key thing. That's challenging, right? I know we spoke on that, or I know you asked me about that. As an illustrator, you don't just want to settle for the first one, right? It has to move you, right? You got to look at their artwork. It's like it's homework. I mean, you are your boss. You're wearing every hat, right? You're the marketer. You're the editor. You're the one that pushes. And so you look at different illustrators. They put their artwork out there, right? If they're passionate about their work, they're going to put it out there to show you. And so you look at the type of styles that they have, and you want to see what sticks out to you. Then say, hey, I have illustration, give them a description, and look at it. Is this somebody that I can work with? But you want to make sure you have contracts in place too. Now, I know I have used Fiverr. People sometimes may stay away from it, but there's platforms, they have Illustrator. You can just type in Fiverr, search illustrators. You have freelancers. You can Google freelancer, illustrator, freelancers. You can type that in, and just to see, it's different protected platforms where they have agreements where they can't just take your work, but you can be able to get an illustrator or get a illustration at a I guess inexpensive price, where you can be able to, hey, I don't like this artwork, let me go to the next one, right? Is a plethora of artists who just want to be able to get recognized, get known. And so find out that one who sticks out to you, and don't just settle, because this is something that you don't have to rush. There's no deadline. As a self-publisher, you give yourself the deadline. So if you need to extend it, then give yourself a little grace, right? If you don't feel like, but sometimes we get caught up, I got to have this out by this time. But if all the things aren't lined up or in place, are you going to just put out anything because it didn't meet that time? You gave yourself that deadline, so you can change that deadline. But I think having those things in place allows you to be able to hold yourself accountable as well. Deadlines are good, but if you have to make those adjustments, don't beat yourself up and then just put out anything because for the sake of this deadline that nobody even knows, right? This deadline you gave yourself. And so you want to make sure before, if you want to plan for something, give yourself that window, enough time, right? You may plan, I know for y'all, I reached out, y'all knew the next year, right after the event was over, when we're going to have it. And it's a good thing by having like being consistent by a certain time. Me, I did it back to back in February. I knew that would be a good money maker. Everybody looking to buy black. African American, it's February, it's Black History Month. I want to buy black. So, okay, I'm going to use that to my advantage, right? I know that this is the time people are looking for African American books. So let me use that window. But you, as a self-published author, you get to pick your time and make it fit for you. But now when they looking out, just like those sneakers, they looking at as a particular time frame, or that game is a particular window, or that movie this season. All this is strategically planned for a reason. And so you just want to be strategic about what you do, but believe in it and sell it. Once you make a decision, go do it. Don't push off tomorrow what you can do today. Now my daughter, that's my oldest. I'm like, man, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
But that just to let y'all know, this is the real deal, man. We're speaking.
Real, man. We all
pre-recorded, man. Like, pre-recorded. It's something.
Anything less would be uncivilized, man.
Yeah,
like
right.
Father, we all wear multiple hats, man. Like, you don't even want to see where I'm at, man. I'm
it's all good. No,
I'm about to say, man. Like we make it happen.
And I can't get mad because I'm in my son's room. So it's like, look, you in my room, you could have took this somewhere else. So I was like, all right, the most clean room right now. I can just go ahead and jump on real quick. I said, let me make it happen. But I think I try to hit all the notes. I know it's a lot, and then each category you want to expand. But hold on, y'all. Y'all gotta keep it down. Y'all can go in another room. You heard me? All right. So yeah, but that's what it is at this point. You just want to trust yourself enough where it's like, just get started. A lot of times we won't even get started because we don't know where to begin. And so if you got a pen, paper, or if you got a phone nowadays, go into your notes and just start typing, just brainstorm. What interests you, right? What you know about, because it's not about, oh, what do people want to know? I mean, that can be a start, but everybody, your story can change somebody's life, right? And we all have a story to tell. And so don't be afraid to tell your story. You never know who needs to hear it, and it may change their life. And so I don't really get caught up, and I wouldn't say, all right, well, what's the need? What's the solution? Because if it's something that not interests you, I don't care if his need is on, like, say, water right now or whatever. That's not going to interest me. I'm not going to be passionate about it. So I'm not going to talk about something that doesn't interest me. So as far as a writer, I think you want to stay in your lane.
Absolutely. Like, so I know you touched on having a website so you can, the audience can have a place to come to learn about you. So you're able to market yourself as the author, be able to market your product. I guess what goes into like your marketing plan for your books? You have your title, your the message in the books. Are you just marketing them as, Black boy books, Black girl books? Are you marketing them? Are you marketing the message that's in these books?
So I think a little bit of both. I mean, you actually kind of just gave me a little marketing plan, but no, that's the direction. So you want to give yourself different angles, right? So first I think about who's my audience. So when I want to reach out to a particular audience, I'm thinking about, okay, like for instance, I actually have an audience for grandparents, right? And so there's grandparents who are raising their kids, or raising their grandchildren, but maybe for whatever reason, I'm on video. Let me see. All right, but whatever, the wife, everybody coming in right now. I guess it's about that time getting them for school.
Yes, sir.
But knowing your audience, and then is my message geared to that audience, right? So I know as a grandparents, they do love my book because they're looking for a message to keep their grandchildren, because they're probably mad, they're frustrated that their parents not there, they're not with their parents for whatever reason. Dad could be in jail, dad could be on drugs, mom is just still young, or maybe just living, and so their grandparents with them, they're looking for something to let them know that it's going to be okay. And so I reach out to those grandparents programs that that I know that they're looking for something to reach their child, and I come speak to them. To the schools, one of the things that I do for the schools, I talk to them because they always looking for representation matters, right? How many Black male authors? I know you might get, Black books, but being able to have people that looks like them, and to be able to let them know that, hey, I grew up in the public school system and the Catholic school system, and but your situation, you can't control how it starts, but you can control how it ends. And so being able to tap that market, and then on social media, one of the things is I may take keywords, or I may ask, being intentional, anything that I do, taking pictures, because I knew that those pictures is going to be is letting people know that I'm consistent. Yeah, this is not something that I did once. I'm not speaking on what I did. I'm speaking on what I'm doing. And I think that's important. People want to constantly see, are you still doing this? And so I'm going to show you I am. So you can take that thing out. You can take that thought out of your mind that, hey, it's not something that I used to do. It's something that I am doing. And so then they want to use you because you're still relevant. You're still doing things today and not just holding out to that high school trophy and it's been 10 years or whatever. It's like, oh man, you was the man back then. Or, you know, but I want to let them know that, hey, this is something that I'm doing. So just being mindful, gearing or targeting the audience that I want to reach, the schools, the people who are watching is, you know, on social media, you know, they're sharing. Anytime they're thinking about an author, I got to be seen. If I don't make them, if I don't, like, nobody won't know about my book if I don't tell them. And so I have to look at it. I can't assume that everybody heard my book. Everybody has this book in their hand. And I know they don't. So I have to constantly promote because I want that one person who didn't know now know. But they won't know if I don't put it out
there. That's absolutely true.
I was saying, we can actually speak to that. We said that before we even got and hit record. Like, we had to salute you and give you your flowers because you everywhere, bro. Like, you always at a school. You always, you know what I'm saying, talking to the kids and sharing your message and your story and getting the book out there. And it's not for the cameras, you know what I'm saying? You just making sure you document your journey for the next person, you know what I'm saying, to inspire them to be able to do the same thing. So,
and to that point, and I think it's important. People might say, all right, well, do I have to quit my job right now? It's like 2 full-time jobs. Like, you have to plan, you have to be strategically. You don't want to double book. I'm a man of integrity. So I have to have a calendar. I have to plan because I'm still working. I have a family. I have to have mouths to feed, right? You don't know how consistent. So you want to constantly stay relevant because the calendar books up. And so when people say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And they feel like they want to be a part of that movement, a part of that wave. But when you say, you know what, this day is booked, this day is that, I can feel you on the calendar. So I'm already building up my calendar, but I don't want to double book. So you also got to be somebody who is reliable. And then that travels as well. You know what, call this person or call that person because they're a man in their word. If they say they're going to be there, they're there. And so the only way that I can be able to hold true to my word is being able to have that calendar. So that's another point that if you don't take your business serious, if you don't take what you're doing serious, how can somebody else take you serious? And so first it starts with you. You know, you got to believe in what you're doing in a message, but also you got to be mindful of the time, right? I don't want to take time or steal time away from my kids and my family because at the end of the day, they're going to resent the things that I'm trying to push. And I don't want them to resent, but I want them to understand that, hey, you can do all these things, but you got to be able to manage your time. So that's the key, to have that calendar as well, whatever you choose to do.
We ain't even asked you about no work-life balance, but you just gave him another gem with it, man. Your calendar and make sure, because again, as I see a lot of people do it, and that's something we do in our community. Sometimes as men and Black women too. You hear grind, we hustling, we doing this and that, but so often we see people so caught up in the grind that they're doing for their family that they're neglecting their family in the process.
Yeah, who suffers?
You're focused too much on the grind and getting to the bag and all that is good, but if you sacrificing everything else that you're doing this for, what really good are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So get you a calendar. Yeah. So getting to some of the ups and downs that you had as an author, what is something that you learned? Like, if you had to speak to your former self, and we understand, you know, going through the process and trusting the process, you learning in the process, and some of those hurdles kind of made you the person and the author you are today. But if you could change something to give your former self some advice or something that you were so focused on before that really didn't matter, what is one of those things that you probably would have changed, or to try to cut the learning curve for the next person coming behind you?
Sometimes you might have sometimes you got to step back, and like sometimes you step back and then you come back to the table, you see things like differently. And sometimes I had more resources than I probably seen initially. And meaning that as a father, I'm a father, you know, I have 3 beautiful children, right? I have free testers on them right away. And so sometimes I'm thinking, all right, they may not understand what a book should be or look like. But if I'm reading to them and they're giving me feedback or they like it, they're motivated by what I'm sharing, I say, okay, I have, like, you know, in my own home, I didn't have to go out far. I didn't have to go to a nephew or cousin. I had to go to a school. Let me test this out. Sometimes look and see your circle. Who do I have around me? How can I test the product before it's actually out into, it's kind of like the percentage, right? How can I test the small market before I take it out into the bigger market? And so sometimes I think looking at that or knowing that now, I was like, yeah, I could have saved myself a headache. Because I was just writing for self, and I thought it was a great message. But I didn't realize, like, what audience. And even if I didn't have children, you know, there's kids. Hey, you know what? Tell the teacher, hey, I got a message. Can you read this? I would like to read this to the kids. Get some feedback. After school programs, I would like to read it. You know, daycares, maybe mom and pop daycares. Hey, can I read this to the kids? I just want to know I know you read to the kids all the time. Can you read this? Let me know what you think. People who are dealing with kids on a daily basis, but sometimes we're so afraid to maybe share. And you're right there. We share. We don't realize that I can test it first. Test it and then get critique. Be open to constructive criticism. I think one thing about me, I never want to believe that I have it all, right? I never want to be closed-minded to any information, because I think you can learn from a child or an elder. And so be open and then filter it, right? Take all the information in, and what applies to you, then you use it. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. And so, but don't be afraid to listen. Don't be afraid to be open to learn. Never stop learning. And so I think that's the key. People might not want to do the extra homework. They might not want to put that work in. I don't feel like paying for no other books that ain't my book. I gotta buy them books. But hey, well, if they knew they best sellers for a reason, right? And it could be the marketing, but whatever the reason may be, they may have those traditional companies or they have the money. But even that's the case, let me look at it. If you don't look at it, you can't even say why it's better. Now I know that is not better, or I can really stand next to it and say, you know what, mine can hold its own weight. And that's what you want to know, but you can't even make those statements if you don't have nothing else to compare it to.
That's absolutely fair. Absolutely true. So let me ask you this. How do you measure your book success, right? Because everybody, like you said, you do it because this is your purpose. This is, you know, it's not about the dollars. It never hurts to make some dollars, but it's not about the dollars. So how do you measure the success of your products, of your books? Is it by, you know, the comments that you get? Hey man, oh, that's you who wrote the book. I didn't even know that. Or is it like, you know, the feedback that you get from the comments from the people who buy it? Like what measures success to you?
No, I like it. And my son, you know, he's getting ready. All right, so I know that the message is bigger than me, right? And so I truly believe that again, I didn't pick the author picked me, and that author is God. And so God gave me this gift. And so I knew that my job is just being obedient to get it out. And so I have to also know that the success. Hold on, when I finish, I'll be over there. All right. We going away. All right, go sit down. All right. So we the kids, you know, say the prayers and give the hugs. So we actually going on a trip tomorrow. So me and the wife. So perfect timing, by the way. But the message have to be big, bigger than I think how you feel. And then it's not really about the dollars, because I knew that my goal is just to get it out there. And who is supposed to touch is going to touch, because I know that this was given to me, right? God has blessed me with the thought or the makeup or the created me this way. And I also know the reality is I may not be here to see the full success. But the thing is, even after I'm long gone, what's still here is that book. And that's the magic behind a book. this book will be here long after me. And another thing, that I can write something that my great grandchildren can look up online or whatever that's out there at that time and say, man, I actually know who my grandfather is. I know how he thought. I know the type of person. Like you're creating something that I can get deep, y'all. As y'all can see,
it's powerful though. Yeah.
It's like when you think of a book, it's gonna be here way after me, and it may blow up then. But I know that it would never happen if I didn't put it out there. And that's the success, knowing that I started something. It started here with a thought, and now it's tangible. But now I can say I did it. I did it to completion. And I think that's the biggest part. A lot of times people have so much information, but they stop shy of hitting the publish button. And I know that now I hit publish. And whatever that's supposed to happen will happen, because I'm going to be consistent as long as I'm living to be able to continue to push it. And so it's deep, man. Like when you think about the power of a book, it was just in my head. Nobody even knew that existed. Now is accessible to everybody in the whole world has access to. It ain't $1 right there. That's success.
Yeah.
Oof, I did it. I'm fulfilled.
It's planting a legacy, man. And
that's it. Yeah,
like
man,
you
that's
said,
deep.
like you said, from your story with your relationship with your father, like, and those issues that you had to fight through and write through, you're building that legacy. You know what I'm saying? Where no matter how weak we may get, no matter what monsters we have to face, you can still persevere, and you can still build that legacy. And there's really nothing other than yourself that can stop you. You know what I mean? And that's a powerful message in itself, man. And yeah, I don't know how to follow up on that. That's how you close. That's how you close a podcast, man. With that inspirational message. Just a quick thing, man. Being that you are author, again, I'm just a real quick stat. In 2018, there was a 17% rate of children's book by and about Black people. In 2021, it's at 22%. So we're increasing.
Not much, but we still, it's better increase than decrease.
But like you said, man,
no progress.
Yeah, right. You every day is another day to increase the number. You know what I mean?
But check this out. Is even an honor to say, hey, I'm contributing to that percentage.
Absolutely.
That makes it even better. Like when you see the percentage, like, man, am I playing my part? And even for the children, it's like you always ask yourself, am I giving back? Am I making the next generation, if I'm making it easier for them to be able to have something to say, you know what, this book inspired me, this book pushed me. And I can say, I hope that one of my books is created to do just that. And you may not know how the story ends, but somebody can say, you know what, I got this book when I was a child, and I carry this book with me. And you may not ever get that story, hear it, but it's an honor to say, you know what, wow, I did what it was supposed to do.
You served in the Army. One of our tenets was selfless service, and that selflessness and being able to put it out there and not see the fruits of your labor, but know that tree is going to bear fruit for generations to come, and in your family, like you said, your great grandkids are going to be able.
They always hear about this guy.
They'll hear about it. And again, not to get too deep, but just go back a few generations. We don't know about our great grandparents. You know what I'm saying? Like all that history was lost, and we're creating that history and that legacy today. That's not going to get washed away. That's going to be here, standing strong and standing the test of time, and being the example for those that come after us. Man, is truly commendable.
Lineage. They can look at They look at it and say, you know what? How? I always hear about him. Who was he? And what has he done? And
all they gotta do is go like this. This is one of the many ways. Like, hey, bam, there you go. You know what I'm saying?
You know who that is? You see that name? You know what I'm saying? And that's where it's like, and I'm never here. I might not even be here to see it, They might take that to show and tell. It's not just any book. This is my great, you know what I mean? You just never know how that story end up being as generation goes.
Or how that will inspire the future generation.
Other people, yeah.
Absolutely.
Again, like we said, it's about legacy and leaving something that the next generation can pull that flag up and move it a little bit further down the road, man. And that's, you know, that's what it's about. Especially, you know, with our generation, that's what it's about, is being able to lead that flag, and for our kids and their generations to continue to move it down the road till we get to a better place, man.
In this social media age, go ahead real quick. I was gonna say, in the social media age, I love seeing stuff get documented to where you got like a Jason Tatum, right? When he was young, he went to Kobe's camp, and then you see videos of him at the camp back in the day, and then he gets older. He's like, oh, I remember going to Kobe's camp, and that inspired me. You're going to see an author 15, 20 years from now. Oh, I remember when Brother Gerald Jackson came to my school, and he's a New York best-selling author, and this and that, you know what I'm saying? That inspired me to then go on and do that. You know what I'm saying? So that is those are kind of seeds that we planted. So.
And you just have to believe it. And I truly believe those things will happen. And so, but when we get in our own head, we become our worst enemy. And what was destined for you, you shied away from what your course was supposed to be because of you didn't get the success fast enough. Or you let other people define on what your success should look like. Because you're comparing you being an author to another author and how fast they started. And just understand your journey is your journey. Your lane is your lane. But are you willing to do whatever it takes to just stay in your lane? The thing is, we want to jump on the other side of it because we see it's seeing going another way. And that's when things we just stay true to y'all. Like you said, that first year, that second year, it's growing. People noticing y'all. People coming to y'all. You know, it's not that much to convince now. This is what I have done over those years. And so it wouldn't, if y'all never got it, if y'all never started, you would never be able to have that conversation or that statement about now they're coming to me. People are coming to me now. One call end up being $3,000 worth of books that they wanted. Just one call, 15 minutes. But I remember, man, trying to struggle. And so those are things that you say, you just got to be willing to keep going. You know what I'm saying? And be consistent because somebody's watching. I would have never have known that they was going to watch or when they was going to watch, but they just want to see how consistent are you going to be? How long are you going to stick with this? They don't want anybody. They want the people who believe in themselves.
We're gonna get the specifics of that story with the 15,000 order on the next episode. Yeah. That's good stuff.
That's good stuff. And I never believed, and I told people, I said that was a 15-minute phone call. You know what I mean? So you think about what you're doing if it's going in vain, it's not. And so just trust yourself.
Absolutely. Good brother Gerald, man. Tell the good people of the world where they can find you on your social medias, your websites, your LinkedIn, your bat signal, however they can find you to get your books, to reach out to you for speaking opportunities to come to the school. How can they reach you?
First, I would tell them to go to the Juneteenth event. And even though I wouldn't be there, you can be able to talk to Nate and Casey, and they will let you know how to get to me. So I definitely want them. If they come to you and tell you and ask you about my book, they get a discount first and foremost. So that means they was listening to y'all. They have to listen to y'all first. But no, my website, I'm big on keeping it simple, right? I don't want you to try to figure this out, right? My website is my name, right? It's GeraldLJackson.com. Don't forget the L. www.GeraldLJackson.com is my website. And then on my social media is West Philly Author. And so, I'm from West Philly, so I want people to know that a lot of times you may hear all the negative things that come from West Philly. It's all about, you can tell me the negative, but I can tell you a whole bunch of good. You just got to look for it, right? You just got to look. If you ain't looking for it, then you won't see it. Don't let social media portray what a city looks like. There's a lot of good that comes from different cities. It's just a matter of where are you looking? Because I can show you a whole bunch of good. If you choose to focus on is what you're going to see. But I choose not to focus on the dark. I choose to focus on the light. And so it's West Philly Author on all social media. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, and it's on Twitter, West Philly Author. And then my website is my name, GeraldLJackson.com. But I can't thank y'all enough, man. This was a blessing. This was rewarding. And again, hey, listen, anytime, man. As long as I got that calendar right, we just
Yeah.
gotta.
Yes, sir. All right.
Absolutely, man. You and your wife have safe travels on y'all trip, man.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it, y'all. All right, man. That's it.
That's everything. Hey, appreciate y'all
listening,
tuning in. Tap in with the brother Gerald L. Jackson on all his socials. And we'll get at y'all on the next episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast, man. Thank you much.
Yeah,
Peace.
Peace.